Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Frieren. Last time around we had The World of Magic. What all happened on that episode? Let me see. Well, it was basically the end of the first round of the exam. Frieren fought Denken and thoroughly beat him, and then she destroyed the barrier around the testing area so that the rain could get in, so that Kana could use magic, and then they swiftly defeated Richter. And then, they took back their Stille and were on their way. Denken and his group were pretty much exhausted of their mana, but they were able to get a Stille from another group that had exhausted their mana, and they were already down one of their teammates, so they weren't passing anyway. So Denken engaged in some fisticuffs in order to take their Stille. And then the first round came to an end. Frieren's group passed, Fern's group passed, Denken's group passed, and a couple other groups that nobody cares about. And we are going to reconvene in a few days and head on to round 2. And at the end, it cut back to Stark, who's just chilling, living his best life, not being nagged by Fern. So I bet you by the end of this, he's gonna be missing her so much. So, but we'll have to see. We will have to see. But yeah, like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Frieren. Here we go. Well, I guess I was wrong. I guess I was wrong about my prediction that Stark would be so depressed and lonely by the time they got back. Maybe he will. Depends on how long the other two tests take. So, oh boy. I mean, so the next test, proctored by Zenzel or whatever, is by someone who... So Zenzel has not passed anybody ever. But Frieren is Frieren, so we'll have to see. Just means we gotta get good. I'm glad that Stark had just that little moment there. That little moment of just enjoying some meat with the guys. You know what I mean. We're just enjoying some food, hanging out with other dudes. I mean, because it's like that moment where he's just like, how am I supposed to get any rest now? There's 4 of them. There's 4 of these ladies now. And if I were to guess, I think Lavina is probably just another Fern, Like, and it'd be cool if they stuck around, honestly. Like, I would be totally happy if Lavina and Kana stuck around even after the test. But I do get the feeling that Lavina is just another Fern. So that would be twice the nagging on Stark, so... but he didn't even really do anything this time. I mean... He slept in. He went to bed super late, had some juice at midnight, and because of that, it was like the evening by the time he got up. It was ridiculous, and that ticked her off a little bit. That ticked her off. I mean, that's such a guy, a boy mother thing, It's like, well, mom's gone, so now I can just do whatever I want. And then she comes home, immediately knows you've done things you shouldn't. And, except, instead of his mother, it's his girlfriend. Unofficially. It's his kind of girlfriend. Oh, boy. You know what? Yeah, because they're not dating. It's more of just his keeper. That's it. Fern is his keeper. So, which is also backed up by the fact that that she was the one who who signed off on Weirabel taking Stark anyway, so. But he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything after the stuff at the beginning. So. And I like. It's funny that, that Frieren was the one that made Fern mad. And then. Frieren was the one that made Fern mad. And so Stark had to go in and sort of be the intermediary. Like, that's something we've never seen before. Normally it's Stark doing something, or even not doing something, and it makes her mad. Then Frieren has to do something, or Zine had to do something, but this time, he has to be the intermediary. We don't see that very often. But I will say, though, it is really nice to just have this episode. Like, we didn't just, like, you would almost think we would have just the scene where, they go back, Fern gets onto Stark, and then, there's just like a quick montage of them relaxing, and then they go on to the next test. I like that this whole episode was that, I like that the whole episode was them relaxing, because it's good. This show, honestly, is kind of slice of life-ish, like, in terms of, like, now, we've had multiple big arcs of action happening, but a lot of the time it is just kind of going through life and seeing, what are they doing today, Sometimes it's, what are they doing for 6 months while they're stuck in a cabin during a blizzard, So I like that it's like, here's a little break episode. Now we're going to move on to the next thing. So we got 6 episodes left. I'm assuming we're going through both of the tests in these 6 episodes, which is the thing. 2 more tests. Like, this just keeps going, man. This just keeps going. Again, it's like I really do feel like I would be a warrior just because it's like I don't have to go through all of this. That said, it's not as ideal as I make it sound. First off, I wouldn't be able to go to the Northern Lands by myself, so there is that. I would have to have a first-class mage. But second, is the funny thing in this episode of being a warrior apparently attracts all the weird people to you for some reason, Which, in this city, we've talked about before that mages are now like a dime a dozen. Warriors seem to be a dime a dozen in this city, Like, there's so many mages here, I guess just because of the exam and everything. But they're looking around like, all right, we need a warrior to go do this. And it's like, well, go get Stark. He's kind of the best one that's in the city now. But, I don't know. One thing I actually do think about, like, if I was in this world, I don't know, if I got isekai'd into Frieren world, if I was reborn as Stark, that sounds like a spin-off manga, actually. That time I got reincarnated as Stark, like being reincarnated as a slime or Yamcha or whatever the hell those mangas are. Like, that would be me if I was reincarnated as Stark. Not a bad deal, actually. I'm gonna say not a terrible deal. I mean, hey, I mean, it's the thing of, like, I would put up with Fern for exactly the same reasons he puts up with Fern, because she's still great. You just she's a little feisty sometimes about you when you fuck things up. Don't do that. Sometimes you don't do it anyway, and she still gets mad at you. Anyway, what was I saying? But it's one thing, like, if I got, like, isekai into a world like this, into a medieval fantasy world, there's a part of me that thinks, what would I do to pass the time? I don't remember if we've talked about this on this show before, but, like, what would I do to pass the time? Like, if I was Stark, if I was Stark, and it's like, well, I just gotta chill here for, like, a couple days, maybe longer. He thought they were gonna be gone longer, but it's just like, what would I do? Or, like, when they're stuck in a cabin, or in that village during a blizzard for months on end, what do you do? How do you pass the time? And I'm thinking of this from my perspective, where my pastime is watching YouTube, You know, I'll watch YouTube, or I'll play, Yu-Gi-Oh, or I'll play a video game, or I'll listen to music, or I'll read a book. And none of those things exist within Frieren, And so I honestly, like, sometimes I think about that, where it's just like, even if I was in this, in this world, which I still think would be great, just because it's away from this world and, the garbage that goes on in this world. We all know we all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, what would I do? What would I do to pass the time? The thing I've come up with now is, and this is if I was I guess if I was a warrior, I don't know, maybe even if I was a mage or something else, but I think I would get into wood carving. Honestly, I think I would get into wood carving, and I would just get a block of wood and a nice knife, and I'd just be carving shit. That's how I'd pass the time. That's what I would use, that's what I would use my hands for. That's how I would keep my hands occupied. Because let me tell you, also when I watch YouTube, I have a Switch and a Steam Deck, because when I watch YouTube, I cannot sit still. I have to be doing something, Like the me that you see here is different from the me that watches stuff on my own. So, but I think I would do that. I would do wood carvings. But then I thought I would also do weird wood carvings. Like, I'm in a medieval fantasy world and I carve like an NES controller and just like leave it somewhere. And I wouldn't like keep them. I would leave them in like different places that I visit, And so someone else would like go into a cabin or into an inn, and they would see this, like, maybe sometimes they would see a bird or a bear, and sometimes they would see like a Ford Mustang carved out of wood, and they'd just be like, what the fuck is this thing, So that's what I would do. Or draw. Or I would draw. I assume you can get like a sketchbook or something in medieval times. I don't know, but I think I would take up drawing. So that's how I would pass the time. How would you pass the time? I don't know. We keep asking these questions as if as if you guys are actually, as if we're going to be a part of this world. But between the whole thing of would you be, what class would you be, and now this, I don't know. That just shows you how much I love this show, that I am fully, like, in my mind picturing what it would be like to live in this world. That's how it's good. That's how I think it's good. Like, there are other shows where I watch it and I'm like, yep, that was great. It's good, it's fun. But if I start picturing being in that world, then I absolutely love it. It's one of my tops. So, I'd also see if I could buy an ocarina and learn to play the ocarina. I actually have an ocarina because I'm a huge Zelda fan. So I never learned how to play it, but I thought that'd be cool if I got an ocarina and played that. It'd be a nice small instrument. Back to the episode, because we don't need to be talking about things that don't actually matter. Back to the actual episode. Yeah, interesting stuff. I love that everyone went to the restaurant. I kind of thought it would become a moment of, like, all the mages end up, like, at the same table, basically. But nope, I don't even think Frieren noticed. Frieren probably noticed that Denkin's group was there and didn't care, And again, I like Denkin. I like that he's just like, let's go to a restaurant. It'll be great. I knew this. I went to this restaurant 50 years ago with my wife. We're all going to go there, And I like that he kind of treats Laufin like a granddaughter. It's like, oh, you must eat your vegetables now. It's just like, honestly, I just feel like if you're old, that's just what happens to you. You just become everybody's grandparent. So, which to an extent Frieren is too, but also to an extent Frieren is a child because she can't even properly, like, apologize to Fern for stuff. I also like that what starts out as a sort of sinister scene with Ubel just ends with her and Land going and eating at the restaurant, Like, that was kind of funny, So her power is the power of empathy, where she can copy someone's magical technique if she can empathize with them, which is why she was trying, I think it was in the last episode, she was trying to get more out of Fern and Land in the cave, because she wanted to see if there was anything worth copying from them. But for Fern, offensively, she doesn't really have anything, you know? Like, she has her basic magic as her main form of combat, and everything else, you know, she has a ton of spells, but probably none of them that too interest Ubel, or any she could, you know, abuse in battle. That capture technique is definitely good, so she'll be able to use that. And she was looking for anything with Lond, which she got a little hint of his true self there in that conversation today. So, but it's an interesting thing. I'm going to be honest, Ubel is scary for two reasons. Number one, she's scary. Number two, being scary and being named Ubel just reminds me of the character Ubel in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, who's also scary. So that's two different reasons of being scary. So, but I would kind of just like if she wasn't really a bad person. I mean, she's a killer, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Would she kill? Like, let's say she was in, you know, the next test, you know, she's going to be going against everybody else. Is she going to be killing people? I mean, there's nothing in the rules to say you can't. But would she kill, like, Fern? You know? I don't know. I don't know that she would, or if she would just incapacitate Fern. You know what? I bet it would depend on if Fern truly was a threat. You know, if she was an obstacle, then she would probably try. But then again, I guess there's the question of, can she kill Fern? You know, is she powerful enough to do that? No. It was also nice in this episode, because it was a in-between episode, it was nice to get flashbacks again, you know? Like, the past couple episodes, I didn't even realize we haven't really had flashbacks to 80 years ago with the Heroes Party. So, I like that we got that a bit, you know? I like that we got that back a little bit, so... I mean, it's a very interesting thing that this show insists on, you know, keep doing flashbacks, you know? Keep these three voice actors employed, basically. That it still does, you know... It still does flashbacks to, you know, the days of Himmel and Hyder and Eisen, so... So, yeah, it's really, really interesting. But I like that whole thing of, you know, a chef taking on time, you know, trying to make sure that his recipe is preserved. And in the end, that didn't happen, you know? Frieren took a bite and said, this is not the same recipe that he had 80 years ago. But whoever he passed it down to made it better. So that's good. It's better with time. So that's something, you know? It's an interesting idea, especially, too, because it's like, you know, you can show up to this place, you know, 50 years later, like with Denkin, and, you know, hopefully it's still the same sort of quality. It's the same sort of quality as Star Platinum. But anyway, and it's like, but for Frieren, it's like, in her perspective, it's like, yeah, well, in like a little bit, in like 3 minutes, this whole place is either going to be gone or completely different, you know? Because time passes so much differently to her, you know? So, and yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Again, I do like, just having that tiny little moment with Stark and Weirabel at the end, where it's just like, yeah, they just had a good time. They felled some monsters, and, you know, they had some food together, and it's like, get good, because like it is a bit difficult. It is a bit difficult. It's not that he doesn't love Frieren and Fern, but sometimes, especially for him, he needs some either alone time or some guy time, you know? And he doesn't get that often. And he had a bro for a little bit. He had Zine, and then he left. So, and he was enjoying his time alone. So, oh well. But anyway, next time we're presumably moving on to the next test. Curious to see where we're gonna go. See, can anyone pass the test by the Impossible Proctor? So, what a great nickname that is, the Impossible Proctor. Yeah, I don't know who else would be able to use that name, though. I don't know. Is my voice going? God, I hope not. I hope not, but I'm a little tired. Doesn't matter. But that is basically it. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Frieren reactions, as well as another video. Another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.